Pushing the boundaries of expectations, rewriting the rules of adventure are the reasons we get up in the morning. We share your hunger for a life without limits.
Greetings and welcome back to your Kinetic Belief podcast for manifesting your abundant life. I'm so glad to have you back with us today. I'm Stephen Kenyon, and if you would like to receive an occasional encouraging text message, and they are so encouraging, text the word Kinetic to 844-844-0049. StephenKenyon.com is the website. Follow us on Instagram at Stephen Kenyon. And also on the website, video is now available of these podcasts.
Heck yeah.
And you look fantastic today, Maggie.
Well, thank you, kind sir.
I say that every day, though.
It's very generous of you.
Is that okay for me to say you look great? Or is that offensive in some way?
You better say that.
That's why I say it. You look so good.
No, really, you look good, I swear. You're beautiful.
What have you been up to?
You look sharp, too. I like that vest.
Oh, you do?
Yes.
Thank you.
It's very cool.
Somebody got this for me for my anniversary.
I can see it on your monitor, though. I mean, it looks very soft.
It's trimming, isn't it? I hope so.
I like it. I like it a lot. Yeah, you do have a cool style. I have to say.
Well, thank you so much. What a weekend we had.
So
you had.
Beautiful.
How do you stand on your feet for so long and paint like that? Standing at your ease. What 9 hours yesterday?
Yeah. I think I really do go into a trance, and it's not on purpose. It just happens. I have a chair out there, but I don't use it. I sit down for about 20 seconds. And I just stand up. But
you're in the flow.
In the flow. I mean, it's just, you can't even feel, it's sort of out of body. I think I just, you know the original Mary Poppins movie where they like dive into the chalk painting and they live in it for the day. That's sort of what it's like.
You need Crocs to stand on, don't you?
I need me a good pair of Crocs. I might wear them in public. That's to be determined.
I think you should.
My last ones were bright yellow, so they sort of looked like clown shoes. But yeah, I do need some Crocs because I end up standing out there barefoot. It's a little cold for that. It's getting cold here.
You know, it really is. And, I think the last time we were in this area up in the Rockies, it was a couple of years ago. And by the second weekend, was it, of September, it was snowing.
Yes. Crazy.
Well, it feels like
I love it, though.
Well, now there was a dusting just the other night.
I saw that up on the mountains.
So here we are. Do you remember any of the stories that your grandparents used to tell you? And the reason I'm asking this is because I was thinking, I was up early this morning and remembering that my great-grandmother used to talk about, she grew up riding horse and buggy.
That's crazy.
She used to travel around by horse and buggy, and I don't know where she went. Where
you
are you going, great-grandma?
Probably to the mercantile.
But it's amazing that
some grain.
But you go back one or just a couple of generations, and so many people know personally somebody that was even before the car and before so much of the technology we take for granted.
Yeah. Yeah. No, oh my gosh. I remember so many stories that they've told me, and they've got plenty of stories. I mean, I have to say, it's either some adventure they were having out west. They did the Lewis and Clark Trail. They took a whole summer and did that, drove it and camped the whole way.
Now, this is your Pop and Nana, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Hey, Pop and Nana, yeah. I'm telling on you. And I know one story involves them being shot at in their tent. They weren't being shot at, but bullets went through the top of their tent. Mm-hmm. And then any story from their high school, which they actually were high school sweethearts, but any story from their high school, it reads like a sequel to Grease or something. I mean, it's just these insane adventures.
I think, now I don't still have my grandparents around, but I wish I did. Because now I've got so many things that I would ask them as far as stories from their, childhood.
Yeah.
That I would find fascinating because, again, these are our national treasures, right? People that
right.
are still around that can tell us about a time that just seems so foreign.
Right.
And KBs, if you got somebody that's still around in your life that is from another time, you might not want to tell them they're from another time, but if they are from generations back, I'll bet they've got some things that they could tell you if they haven't already.
Well, and the way that tech and the Industrial Revolution happened, everything is happening so exponentially. You get older faster. Like I saw a picture of a museum, and there was like a picture of a computer in the museum, like behind glass, and it was a laptop that I used in high school.
See, no, that's great because
it's in a museum.
You're just a kid.
You're a baby. But isn't that funny? I mean, it just sort of ages out a lot faster.
Well, I do remember being a junior in high school, and this kid brought in a Texas Instrument calculator, and we'd never seen a calculator before. And this, I'm a junior in high school, and we all gather around, and he's showing us the different functions.
We gather around
the Texas Instrument, big, huge Radio Shack thing. I'm like, gosh, where was that when I was in the 9th grade?
That's hilarious.
It's
what's one person's horse and buggy is another's calculator.
Right. Did you remember those two kids? Their dad brought in this telephone that had the rotary dial on it, and they were trying to figure out how to make it work.
I love that video. That is the funniest.
So
I love that at one point they're sort of deep into trying to figure out how it works, and one of them just picks up the whole thing and says, "No, you gotta pick it up and put it down." Like that's the secret to the Rosetta Stone.
Things are changing in a hurry, and anyway, I'd love your grandparents' stories.
So many.
Your papa's full of them. That's for sure.
As I think when you're growing up, you wonder if they're true, and then as you get older, you hear everything is sort of corroborated by other witnesses. So these wild stories are true. So hey, Papa and Nana, thanks for the good stories.
He's got a bunch of them, and sometimes I wonder if he's kind of like the character in The Big Fish, the movie, where
all the characters are revealed at the end, of the movie. That's so true.
Everybody from my past was on stilts and from the circus.
You get the Siamese twins show up.
We did have a question that I kind of wanted to chew on a little bit this morning, and this is from one of our KBs that wrote in over the weekend, actually, Carolyn.
Hey, Carolyn.
And she said something like, what can she do to become more consistent with attracting the desires in her life from the universe? And she said that she had been receiving a lot of what she's been journaling, but then there are still some things that are missing. And so, there's, the podcast, we will venture into this, but I want to take a deep dive for just a minute. I think it's been a couple of weeks since we really got into some quantum mechanics and quantum physics where the substance of belief is concerned. Yeah. So let's go down deep for just a minute and look at how belief works, because there's a lot of misunderstanding. I think it's vital for knowledge to understand where the substance of our belief comes from, how it works in a quantum way and spiritual way, because with knowledge comes an ability to manipulate the kind of life that you're going to experience. So it's important, right?
Yeah.
Not knowing how to do these things, I think, leaves more questions than answers that become a hindrance. So put on your thinking cap for just a minute, because I'm always hesitant to get into too much science here. I feel like I need a chalkboard.
Yes.
I'm going to do some math and write out some formulas. But we're not going to do that. So if you're out there driving, keep your eyes on the road. Don't try to write any of this down. And I'll do my best to explain it in a way that maybe you can use some visual pictures to get exactly how this thing works, because all things in this universe work by forces of kinetic attraction, which is a very real thing. And so on the macro level, which is the huge big picture, we have the most familiar example of attraction working by gravity, as Newton pointed to the apple falling from a tree. There's attraction, right? Gravity doing what it does.
Yeah.
And the expansion of the universe, which scientifically, that it's, everybody's in agreement, the universe is expanding, and it works by kinetic energetics, kinetic energy. So from particle attraction in quantum mechanics to falling in love to the spiraling galaxies that we can see in the night sky, through telescopes, in the night sky, in the day sky, all things working, including the waveform of our thoughts, what you think about, all things work by kinetic energy. energy makes up forms and substance throughout all of the universe. And now all of a sudden, understanding how this thing works that we are all immersed in. You popped in out of nowhere, right? And how here you are on this little planet we call Earth, and you're scratching your intellectual head going, what? How's this work? So all of a sudden, understanding the force of kinetic motion and all of these things, it becomes absolutely vital to the successful kinetic believer to, while you're here in the land of the living on this planet, to understand that aligning with higher consciousness aligns you with success for your life as well. Kinetic energy, Carolyn, to answer your question, and why maybe you're not seeing some things that you'd like to see showing up in your life. Kinetic energy is the energy of a form. This table on the micro level is made up of energy, just like you are, just like every form in the empirical and the non-empirical, meaning that which cannot be seen. All it has motion, which means kinetic energy is essentially the energy of every object, including the potential of every future thought form, which includes the wave form. Thinking has waves. It's kind of like the waves on top of an ocean or a body of water as they move along. That represents thoughts, if you can see that. Waveforms of thinking, which in the metaphysical realm, the spiritual realm, includes the dreams and the fears of every single human being, both past, present, and future. And so understanding now kinetic energy is intuitively easier than understanding potential energy because it's more obvious. You can see a ball rolling across a field that has kinetic energy. And so things moving that have energy, it becomes obvious to the senses. As in the lives of people that we see attracting a lot of life experiences, somebody that has this abundant life and they got so much going on versus somebody who's attracting very little, you're actually seeing the evidence of more kinetic energy in this person's life. Those people whose experiences are full of the evidence of kinetic energy, who are that's evidence that they are observing the greater abundance. In other words, they are imagining to see beyond what can be seen. And they are open by faith or by kinetic belief, the energetics of belief through desire and imagination and gratitude and words and action to receive more than what they are familiar with. And so as a result of that, they're releasing their potential energy. And the kinetic force of their belief is now attracting more of what they believe from out of the universe and into the empirical realm. So, people often ask, why is it that one person who is, well, let's just say wealthy, for example, isn't happy? They got all this money, but they just aren't happy. While another person, maybe with the same amount of wealth that they've attracted into their life, is happy. So it obviously, in this case, has nothing to do with the attracted amount of wealth that will, as a predictor of who's going to be optimistically happy and who's not. So there is only one force at work within the laws of expansion. Regardless of what's filling the void, it could be money, it could be health, it could be any attribute that's considered to be a positive thing. There's only one force at work, and the total kinetic energy of someone's belief, which includes the enthusiasm of gratitude for the manifestation of the abundant life, and not just money, and not just fame and some of the more fundamental desires, but all things contained within the power of non-judgmental, unconditional love for self and for all life forms. The kinetic energy from the center of that presence of being released from the present while gratefully, forcefully acting to receive more of life. That is what attracts the essence of higher consciousness into the the vacuum of your expectations. And so the fruit of this type of kinetic belief is, which is a holistic, it's a bigger picture, Carolyn. It's always going to include joy. It will include happiness. It's going to include health and wealth, and it will include the abundant life and all of those things. But it is a holistic approach to receiving and attracting abundance from the universe that, by the way, is not within the constraints of any timeline.
Wow. So
just by the very nature that, or the fact that you're asking why are these things not showing up, means that you're still within the definition of got to have it now. And if you're not seeing it now, you're wondering where it is. So perhaps as we dig down scientifically, we're going to get a better understanding of being patient.
I have a question about digging down scientifically. That was so powerful, everything you just taught us, and it gives us this depth of understanding of exactly how belief is functioning, working the mechanisms of it. And I'm wondering, because of what we are told about faith and belief, and that there's a certain kind of purity to it, almost, like faith for the sake of faith is important, or seems to be. Do we need to be aware of not resting in and relying on just the knowledge of science when it comes to belief? Or is there a way to sort of, really beautifully combine those? And obviously we are combining the understanding, but then I'm wondering about when it really comes to the motivation of belief.
Yeah, I think, Maggie, using science as just a predictor of what is possible, it helps to increase the measure of faith, but it's not the basis of faith. And it's just like looking under the engine of a car to see that there's a motor there doesn't give you any more reliability from the function of the car. It just gives you a higher perspective and takes away some of the guesswork. Knowledge is imperative to success. And in the same way that, getting the universe to grant your wishes, to manifest your desires, which it always does, by the way. The universe never withholds. It's the double-mindedness of the one who's believing for something that will stop the attraction and the force. But the universe is always, it's warehousing your extravagance. And for those who activate the energetics of kinetic belief still depend on several factors here, such as the amount of force that you're putting into an action that aligns you with what you believe to be true.
Wow.
And so we can look at it this way. A dream that you may have for having a lot of money. First of all, a lot of money is just simply relative to a little. One is no different than the other. It's just a lot's a lot. But the money is still an object.
Yes.
And so in this case, it already exists in the empirical realm. It already possesses form, and it's accelerating toward you, which is the velocity of the acceleration is activated by the energetics of your kinetic belief, and attraction begins after a moment of inertia from your expectations. It's which extends outward to pull back to you from the external from the forces of the universe. So what is it that activates that initial inertia? It's like letting the kid off at the gate of the bumper cars which I can relate to. I was that kid that can't even stay in his tennis shoes from the excitement of it. That is a burst of enthusiasm that actually begins the process of a kinetic energetic, the inertia of that begins extracting from the universe the thing that you're hoping to see.
Wow.
One of the most important factors that determine the kinetic energy and the motion of your belief, which is measured as velocity, and this is the actuality, the implementation of the substance of your belief, of your faith. And every human being was created with the power of belief. No one is as neutral in this. You were born with the belief mechanism, and the ego is what identifies with what you believe to be true for you. And so the same power that created all of the universe and all things contained within it is also located within you. There is not one person that's been excluded from source energy, including moi and ya. Everybody has that, and you are only the product of what you believe you are. what you see going on in your life and the circumstances, the evidence of the empirical form around you it always goes back to the substance of what you believe.
Well, and I love that the science that you're guiding us into, and I feel like you're going to tell us more about it today, is...
Don't you?
Is
that a good feeling?
That you're going to take us deeper. Well, But what I love about it is that so much of the science thus far that you've taught us about has been really directed toward the mechanism of belief. And I like that this new wave here, it's bringing us into the picture. And so understanding beyond any shadow of doubt that the mechanics of us being in control of our own life, of our own journey, not just resting in that, but going through every day with that real knowing of responsibility.
Knowing that you're in control of your life can go two ways. It's like, yes, that is fantastic. I get to choose. And then wait a minute. I don't have any excuses.
You're like, yes.
You mean I'm not a victim?
I get to choose.
I actually get to choose. There's a choice, and you are the master of destiny. And the ego, which is who you think you are, look, that is vital to understanding, that who you think you are is not who you are. Who you think you are simply kinetically attracts the substance of what you think that you're identifying with that you are. So the experiences that you're having, and you go out that door in the morning and you are... so it's off to work you go. And so what you think you are, the experiences that you're going to have throughout the day are the results of what you've been thinking all day.
Yes.
Of what you've been thinking about at night. Waking up at 3 a.m, staring at the dark ceiling and wondering about.
Well, and there's a weird sensation sometimes that you do feel like you can opt out of this. Sometimes you feel like you can maybe pass the responsibility of your life onto something or someone else. And so bringing us back into the sure foundation of knowledge that that's impossible. It's physically on a quantum level impossible. Is profound.
Again, knowledge, right?
Yeah,
so, okay, since we've opened up the nut of of science here, let's go. Just if you're hanging in there, let's go a little bit deeper for just a moment, because I think that some clarity is essential here. In quantum physics, it's natural for physicists to associate energy with the something called the expectation value of a certain operator, which is known as in quantum mechanics, the Hamiltonian of the system. So let's consider that you are the system, because you are. Every single person, you guys out there, you are a system, and you're the operator of your system. And the Hamiltonian of your system is the expectation value of you, the operator. And so your expectations of your life, first of all, they cannot be zero, a factor of zero. In other words, the act of your creation, the fact that you didn't create you, but you are the operator of the system that was created, sets in motion the kinetic energetics of the value of your beliefs as the operator. It's like if you're a train engineer, whether you want to be one or not. Let's say that somebody takes you and picks you up. Maybe they grab you by the belt loops. They set you up in the engine of the train, and now you're the conductor. Believe it or not, that train is going to head on down the tracks, and there are all the levers and the dials, and you can opt by choice to manipulate the controls of that locomotive, or you can do nothing and play the role of victim. You are the operator of your system. Everything that you could ever hope for is down those tracks. It already exists, and you are speeding toward it and potentially past it. Or you can, as the engineer, pull the lever of the brake and stop and enjoy the experience of a thing. All of it is located, however, within you. And so in quantum mechanics, you're the operator of a system that includes both kinetic energy and potential energy. And so here, a person that's intentionally using the law of attraction, we know that to be a kinetic believer, because you're intentionally using the inertia of your chosen beliefs. You're the operator of your system, and your physical system now is under your control intentionally, as you're imagining and desiring, and with gratitude, speaking your highest expectations and acting toward the manifestation of those things.
Wow, you just mentioned the universe and its role in this. And so many times I think when we're speaking and we're speaking our kinetic belief, we refer to the universe in a way that's almost asking it to do something for us, as if the universe is making decisions on our behalf or against us. But the way that you presented the universe in that scenario, you really reminded us that it's a warehouse. It's warehousing the extravagance, and the creator, I believe that's what you're saying, put it there for us to access. We're not praying to the universe, hoping it makes a decision that's positive for us.
Yeah, look at it this way. In the universe, the substance of the universe where all things are contained, there is a total spectrum of your high vibrational energetics that already exist, with or without your participation. It's all there. There's no choice and there's no decision making involved in the spectrum of your highest energetics located within the universe, which are your system's set of energy values, but they're out there. So there's particle attraction now that's going to pull the essence of your highest being in alignment with your creator's desire for you. And when you on purpose as a kinetic believer align with your system's set of energy values by transcending the lower state of being, the ego that identifies with failure and loss and not having and all of those things, then the total set of possible outcomes becomes available to you, which makes you a priceless, unique, one-of-a-kind masterpiece who's enjoying their best life and whose fate is really left up in totally, completely 100,000% in your hands in relationship with the creator of the universe, which is the universe warehousing your extravagance in the set of that total spectrum of highest vibrational energetics, which already exists.
I love how everything that you're telling us right now, it's expanding our sense of self. It's expanding our identity, because not only obviously is, the baseline understanding is, yes, it's our responsibility. The life that we're living, we are in control of that, whether we like it or not. But everything you're describing, it's like an entire universe of possibility and function within our singular being. And I think as a kinetic believer, that's really exciting, because not many people, at least you find at the beginning, are going to be thinking like you're thinking, believing like you're believing. And so knowing how much is within you and this expansive and even explosive sphere of influence that you all of a sudden wake up and realize that you're a part of, I just think that's very exciting.
Well, this is where science becomes so important, because not knowing this, then you're under the effects of a condemnation, of a sense of guilt, of not being worthy, of not being able or capable, or not having enough education, or whatever it is that you've identified with in the sense of not measuring up to being able to experience the best part of being alive. And so all things are obtainable from the universe, like we're saying, in cooperation, however, with however it is that you choose to observe your existence, which is it's nothing more than a measurement of your system's total energetic, your system's total potential energy and kinetic energy.
Wow.
Which you're the captain of, you are the engineer of. And so, here we are, as big as the speculative existence of the entire universe and all things being possible may appear to be. When we consider the most fundamental structures of our existence, the sum total, it's not even close to being simply up to you and your hard work, getting up early enough, working hard enough, putting in more hours than anybody else, taking when they're not watching. It's not even close to manipulating your way to success. It has nothing to do with it. Do you remember what it felt like when somebody maybe stepped in your past life to help you out with rent?
Oh, wow. Yes.
Or
I think we all do.
Maybe some groceries that you couldn't afford at the time.
Yes.
Well, that feeling, maybe when you got a job that you were hoping to get, and you get the phone call, you're like, oh my gosh, it's a raise that you weren't really expecting, but the amount of the money that was coming with the new job or with the raise was enough to pay your bills and even have some left over at the end of the month. You remember what that feels like, right?
Yes.
Those are great examples of how someone or something intervened on your behalf, and which was outside of you. And as a result of the greater than you, even expecting to show up and on your behalf, the interceding on your behalf, relief shows up in the form of something that's beyond you. Well, that is a perfect picture of what kinetic belief does, of what happens when the universe responds to your expectations in a positive way. It's more than you can think of or imagine. The thought process and the desire and the gratitude and the attitude and all that's in place for expansion. But the reality of the expansion goes far beyond what you can see down the path in the magical forest.
Wow.
And so what this does, and Carolyn, what kinetic belief does without you measuring your success by what you can see in the empirical realm around you today, is that it allows the serendipitous encounters from other things, from other people, from circumstances to show up and carry the burden of increase for you beyond your own intellectual or your physical abilities. And so by what's happening is you're aligning with the wisdom of higher consciousness, which is immutable. You can count on it. Scientifically, spiritually, philosophically, you can count on higher consciousness, and it's omniscient, and it's omnipresent, and it's omnipotent, meaning it's all creatively powerful. All things that are come from it. And so the force of which created within the potential of your genius, the desires of your purpose, the desire, Carolyn, for you to have more of what you cannot see presently, these unctions that are compelling you to even journal these highest expectations for your life, unctions that are compelling people to have an adventure, they're abstracts that go far beyond the thinking mind. And, we often think of the age of discovery. And, we love, Meg, you and I, nothing more than an adventure. And we
Yes.
we will head off in a direction that we've never been before, just so that there can be an essence of adventure.
Yes.
And through forests and wherever we go, we love adventure. And it's not just us. I think it's natural to the human state of being and mind and the free spiritedness to experience the unknown. And so historically, we think of the age of discovery or even the age of exploration primarily beginning in the 15th century up until the end of the 18th century. And it's a very loosely defined period in European history that just saw this extensive overseas exploration, which my people came from, the Strathclyde district of Scotland, shipbuilders and setting sail for exploration. And so it was in a lot of different ways the beginning, I guess you could say, of globalization. Sir Walter Raleigh, who established a colony in Roanoke, Roald Amundsen navigated the South Pole, and Magellan, who's the first person to circumnavigate the Earth, all these guys.
Don't forget DeSoto.
The Mississippi? Yeah. Well, where would we be without the Mississippi today? But yeah, all these that's funny. All these explorers, but traveling, as interesting as all that is, and I think a lot of people that think in terms of I need an adventure think of, well, we need to go on vacation. As interesting as traveling is, that it is not the adventure of deploying the faith of the child within you, trusting what you've not yet experienced to show up. Not in the adventure. It's not in the adventure of some exotic land, perhaps. Not that it's not, but it's not that it is. It is in the exotic, but the exotic that is yet to be discovered within your sensibilities of your original one-of-a-kind being.
I love that you're speaking to the nature of having the spirit of discovery and attaching ourselves to that, because, it's funny, I was thinking about when I first was learning the violin, it's an incredibly awkward instrument to play. The way that you have to hold it is not natural at all. And I remember having to overcome the feeling that it was incorrect, that it's wrong. And so the knowledge, I feel like the knowledge that you're giving us today is primarily going to be used to overcome the sensation and the false feeling of something of how just the sensory world feels most of the time, because the world feels like it works one way, but it does not. And so we need this knowledge. We need this roadmap of discovery and the information you're giving us to even know that what we're doing is correct. Even though it feels awkward or it may feel off, it's correct, and it does work this way.
Well, when you were a child, it was much easier for you to aspire to develop and to humbly submit your ego as lower self to learning to play the violin, unlike it is for the person that's much, much older that says, well, you can't teach an old dog new tricks, because they're not willing to humbly submit what they're identifying with to the greater portion of conscious awareness. And we do this by casting down negative imaginations, and so that the essence of our higher being, with our genius of purpose, aligns with the spirit of your Creator, releasing the potential into the kinetic energy of your genius, which then goes far beyond anything that you could imagine to see as a 5-year-old or a 55-year-old.
Wow.
So being a kinetic believer, Maggie, it's not about getting the universe to follow our plan, but actively believing for the greater portion of increase to line up with the potential of our genius of purpose, which then through that alignment, the universe is not making a decision, do I or don't I? It just does. It does what it's designed to do. And so the onus of persistence of kinetic belief expectations attracts deeper growth to become a violinist or a musician or a practitioner of some expertise, whatever it is, something that you want to enjoy with your intellect, experiencing. And as you actively stand and refusing to quit, prepared to stand forever if need be, in trust in your essence, the higher being, light, begins to flow into areas where, there was previously just darkness, no illumination at all. And awareness is then, it's quickened. And there is a conscious awakening to your purpose. And it's coming from those unctions we were talking about. And I will just throw this out. One word of caution here is there are a lot of kinetic believers. I mean, these are the loveliest, most beautiful people I've ever met that are sensitive to others, sensitive to a love walk, and would do anything in the world for anybody. But they've been fast-tracking their lives in the process of manifesting their best lives. And the very nature of love is to be empathetic toward other people.
Yeah.
And I just want to say that as you share your light and your love with others, it is so important to not take on the burden of the problems of other people yourself.
Yes.
Because doing so, it can be spiritually damaging and harmful to the transcendence of your highest being. In the book of Proverbs, Solomon had cautioned kinetic believers at that time to guard their hearts above everything else. And what he was saying is, be sure to encourage and champion and edify and love those who are identifying with pain and those who believe they are struggling and identifying with being impoverished and identifying with sickness and all those things. But in doing so, at the same time, make certain that you guard your own heart against the sharing of emotional strains and conflicts.
Yes.
Knowing what you know about the manifesting power of kinetic belief, take stock, take inventory, and look at all the people in your life and the presumable challenges that even you're facing. And this could be something that is a hindrance right now in your own life, Carolyn. But take inventory, look around, ask yourself, where has your development or movement stalled? Is there a rebellious child in your life? Or is there a difficult employer or maybe an employee? Which family members perhaps may be battling some kind of health issues or need peace and joy in their lives? It can be challenging. It can be so difficult to persist in unconditional love with those that are closest to you and that have access to you, saying and doing what you know to be right in alignment with your articles of faith, because we don't always see the fruit of our immovable expectations where aligning with our truth with higher consciousness is concerned. But that is no reason to stop persisting. Not at all. Stay motivated and stay encouraged to persist in your kinetic belief, and it'll be a benefit to all those that know you, regardless of when things haven't changed in the natural world around you. Because the universe is constantly at work in the metaphysical realm to expand all things abundantly, and your immovable gratitude, it's not in vain. Don't ever think it is where manifesting your best life is concerned. The universe is never trying to withhold anything from anyone. In fact, there is no substance of choice within the abundance of all things, absent the interference of doubt and worry and fear. Life only knows to give more of that which is life from within the essence of the seed of life. Just like the nature of a flower is to bloom, so it is with humankind.
Wow.
And the only function that is ever missing is the substance of somebody's positive beliefs. Kinetic belief is the only excitable substance within the universe. And you could even see it scientifically, particle, excited. There's a kinetic force at work there. And it's the excited motion behind every unction, behind every desire, every gratitude, every imagination, and every action. And it's the only attribute within the like-kind life form that excites source, that excites the Creator, that excites God and the expanding life. And it's going to come from the power of kinetic belief that is in constant motion. And so in the same way that when something isn't in constant motion, it becomes stagnant, doesn't it? And it becomes complacent. In the same way that we know that stagnant water becomes a breeding ground for all types of bacteria. In other words, it no longer offers life, but it instead becomes toxic. And so when you kinetically believe for all the good things to manifest in your life, you articulate your desires, and you do it in a positive way, and you do it by writing down what you imagine to see, by journaling from your highest viewpoints, the constant motion of your highest expectations, and that keeps you out of becoming toxic. It keeps you from becoming stagnant with your belief. You're not complacent, subsisting just in potentiality alone in your believing. No, by keeping the modalities of your kinetic belief alive, firm, with the highest expectation, you begin flowing and you're moving in alignment with the power of higher consciousness by faithfully aligning with the spirit of abundance to bring life source properties into your circumstances. Higher consciousness is a forward-moving force. There's nothing stagnant or toxic in higher consciousness. And so all human beings, in the same way, were created to be the exact same forward-moving forces as higher consciousness. But we have a choice. And that's where people get messed up, entangled up.
Yeah.
And the kind of belief that creates everything, that changes everything, both in a transpersonal way and in a natural way, is kinetically backed by a desire for greater things, for greater life, for greater health and joy, a desire for abundance in the constant forward motion of immutable kinetic belief. Look, there should be no other option on the table of your life, none whatsoever. Now that you know this, we don't mess around with stuff that we know better than to mess around with. Life is too precious. And if you're approaching your life with a maybe I will or maybe I won't mentality, you're off to a bad start. Your genius is manifested when you believe that you will have what you ask for. Edgar Allan Poe wrote in his novel, The Raven, he said, "Back into the chamber turning, all my soul within me burning." I love the visual of all my soul burning with a passion for more, burning with a passion for life, burning with a passion to experience while I'm here in a realm that I can only experience while I'm here. The clock is ticking. And so my soul is burning. And if you feel like you've been missing some things in your life that you would like to experience, start to imagine to see yourself attracting while releasing the aggression of your burning soul. accepting nothing less than to see yourself actively in the specific location of your desires. And I'll tell you this, the universe will always furnish you.
Yes.
Always, always. There's no exception to always. It will furnish you in alignment with your burning expectations. You're just going to have to change what you will tolerate and change what you expect. Well, let's work on some highest viewpoints here. And I hope we got the science of it today. And
We got it all.
And if not, email me and Megan will further explain it for you.
Yes.
And we'll make sure we get some clarity on it. Just say this out loud. Say, my life is changing every single day.
My life is changing every single day.
It's becoming filled to the overflow.
It's becoming filled to the overflow.
With abundance.
With abundance.
Prosperity comes to me easily.
Prosperity comes to me easily.
And effortlessly.
And effortlessly.
Because I gratefully expect it.
Because I gratefully expect it.
I am increasingly manifesting.
I am increasingly manifesting.
More and more.
More and more.
Of what I've chosen to desire.
Of what I've chosen to desire.
I know that I'm attracting great wealth.
I know that I'm attracting great wealth.
Because I believe I am.
Because I believe that I am.
And I am joyous.
And I am joyous.
And I am happy.
Oh, I'm so happy.
And healthy and wealthy.
And healthy and wealthy.
And I am so filled with peace.
I'm so filled with peace.
And I'm attracting so much more.
And I am attracting so much more.
So that I can give from my abundance.
So that I can give from my abundance.
Which never runs out.
It never runs out.
And I have no worry.
And I have no worry.
And no doubt.
And no doubt.
And no fear.
No fear.
I am so pleased with me.
I'm so pleased with me.
I adore me.
I adore me.
And I am perfectly made.
And I am perfectly made.
And I'm extravagantly unique.
And I am extravagantly unique.
And the truth is, I'm unconditionally in love.
I am unconditionally in love
with who I was created to become.
With who I was created to become.
And I am attracting.
And I'm attracting
more of the wisdom.
More of the wisdom.
Of my purpose.
Of my purpose.
To advance.
To advance.
Abundantly.
Abundantly.
Powerfully. Today.
Today. Wow, you have absolutely given us the knowledge necessary for remaining consistent in our kinetic belief today. If you do want to check out the guided journal, that's going to give you your genius of purpose and the consistency that you're looking for. You can find that at StephenCanyon.com.
And all of us right now in unison, Maggie, you, me, all of us, sending out much love and light to all the KB creatives all around the world.
Yeah, and thanks as usual, Stephen, from me and all the KBs. Thanks for all the wisdom.
Bye.